Joining us now in studio, it's Jake Moreland, tight ends coach for your Houston Texans, and I like to always say original Houston Texan coach. How you doing today?
Doing great.
All right. Well, it's wonderful to have you here and fresh off the practice field. So tell us a little bit about your group here, because one thing that's impossible not to notice is it's not like you have 5 undrafted free agents to break in. You do have Stover, but you have guys who have been here before for the most part.
Yeah, it's been great. Great room. Everybody's very unselfish. And the best part about what this group is about is they showed up ready to work from day one. There were guys that were in here before coaches actually got a chance to work with them. They were already putting the work in the weight room, trying to get their bodies ready for OTAs, and it's starting to show.
Coach, I've always thought about this, and I want to ask and get it from your perspective, because outside looking in, you would think continuity is a great thing for a coaching staff, because you know if you got to work with the offensive line, you're working with Chris and Cole, you did that last year. You got to work with the receivers, Ben's out there with the receivers, you have that down. Work with the quarterbacks, obviously we know everybody's remained there. How much has the continuity helped as you start this second season here?
Honestly, it's unbelievable. Just having continuity with the coaches, as you were referring to, and getting to know each other's mannerisms and how guys coach and all those kind of things, and we can kind of play off each other and feed off each other. But I think it's really important with the players. You know, we're not starting from ground zero like we had to last year.
Right.
You know, we're not teaching guys, what does this play mean? What does this play mean? Everybody knows what the plays are now. Now it's actually about honing into the skills and the techniques that are really going to make it come alive on Sundays.
Tight ends coach Jake Moreland with us. Can you describe the game of Brevin Jordan? Made some big plays last year, especially late. What kind of tight end is he? Because he can block, but he can look like a receiver at times.
No question. And I think when guys first look at Brev, I think they see his speed and his athleticism, so they automatically think, oh, he's just a receiving tight end. But when you actually watch him put his hand in the dirt, he is feisty on the line of scrimmage. And he's able to use all of that power and everything that he's been developing in the weight room to his advantage when he gets on the line of scrimmage and he's ready to block. He had some unbelievable blocks for us last year down the stretch in the run game, but really I think it probably gets overlooked in the pass game. His pass protection helped CJ create that one more second so he could push the ball down the field a little bit. So there's a lot of things that we talk about in our room that probably get overlooked, and that's okay. We're not about all that stuff, but what we are about is being able to provide the offense with whatever we need at that moment, and I think Brevin gives us a chance to do that in all aspects.
Coach, getting Dalton Schultz back, he agrees to the 3-year deal to come back after 1 year. And I remember when we signed him in 23, we thought, okay, it's an opportunity for him to show himself to 31 other teams, but also he's in this building. He gets a chance to work with you. He gets a chance to work with CJ, and he seemed to really kind of fall in love with that whole thing coming back. What do you see in Dalton's game? And a guy that's been around that long, what's kind of key in you as a coach to, okay, you need to work on this? You know, you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot of different things, but how do you kind of coach a guy that's been around for a while and seen some things, as you would say?
Yeah, I think especially in Dalton's case, because he's a veteran, because he's so smart, he knows the offense. He has great synergy with CJ, but a couple of things that he brings to the table is leadership. Because he's been in the league for a number of years, he can put his arm around Cade or Brevin and say, hey, think about doing it this way. This is something that worked for me in the past, let's say. And then for just as a coach, being able to go with him and have a conversation. Hey, Dalton, here's what I see. Here's how I think you can get better. And then we have a conversation about what he's thinking, what I'm thinking, so that we're both on the same page. And then we go out and try and execute it.
Cade Stover, coach, he's played in a lot of big games. He has familiarity with CJ Stroud. So what are you seeing so far? What are you looking for as we get toward camp and that sort of thing?
Yeah, really right now, it's really just about learning the playbook. You know, and our playbook is obviously can be very extensive. So getting him aligned first so that he knows exactly where his alignment is supposed to be, what that looks like, and then how does he fit in either the run scheme or the pass scheme or the pass protection scheme will allow him to start becoming the athlete that we know that he is. He's going to be a great blocker for us. We know that. Really working hard on his receiving game right now. I'm not sure how many routes he was really asked to do at Ohio State, but he has made a lot of competitive catches. Even early in OTAs, he's made some really competitive catches against the defense. So I know that it's in there. We know that it's in there. It's just a matter of getting his technique right so that he can really showcase it.
Coach, sometimes I'm not really sure who's always in your actual room, because I think of a guy like Andrew Beck, and I'm like, wait, he kind of plays fullback, he kind of plays H, he kind of moves around. You had Brevin do that when Andrew, last year against Tennessee, Brev kind of did a little bit of that. So you've kind of got I don't want to say a mishmash, but you got a lot of different bodies and skill sets in that room. So make it fun to coach, to make it tough. I mean, what's kind of the fun and the thing you've got to work on the most when you have kind of multiple diverse bodies in there?
Right. Being able to be multiple is something that our room takes a lot of pride in. Everybody gets cross-trained in all the positions because you never know when we're going to be asked to line up as a wideout, when you're going to be asked to line up in the backfield, when you're going to be asked to line up in the tight end home position. So even though I have the fullbacks in the room, those guys get taught just like the Ys do. The Ys get taught just like the Fs do, the fullbacks, so that in case something happens, we can plug and play and we don't have to skip a beat. Where it becomes a little bit of a challenge as a coach is to say, okay, I need to take the fullback types over here and work with them on fullback specific training when the tight end types are working on their specific tight end training. So that's where, the help that I have with JJ, he's been great. Because now we can divvy that up, and on one day I can work with the fullbacks and he can work with the Ys. On the next day we can trade so that these guys are hearing the same message from different voices, and everybody gets a chance to get better.
Tight ends coach Jake Moreland joining us on Texans Radio. Coach, you've coached the game, you've played the game, and after minicamp, we've got that big break between minicamp and training camp. Training camp is earlier this year with the Hall of Fame game. But what's important about that break for the players? Because you're not going to have them under your tutelage during this time. So what do they need to keep in mind to be ready for camp?
Yeah, right. So what we do is we'll sit down with our players and we will actually come up with a plan for what that 40 days or what that little break looks like. Some of the things that we really are trying to hone in on that they can continue to work, even though the coaches are not there and overseeing it. We've gone through all of the technical things that we need to do in individual, let's say, so they can go out and they can run routes the way as if I was standing out there and trying to critique them on their route running or on their pass blocking. There are certain things that they're going to be able to do on their own that even though the coaches aren't there, they're still going to be able to continue to develop their craft. So when we come back at camp time, we're ready to roll.
Coach, you ever been in the Hall of Fame?
Yes, actually in 2002, we played in the Hall of Fame game.
Oh, did?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. That's
with
right.
the Houston Texans.
So going through the Hall of Fame, how many Hall of Famers did you play with in your career? And when you go to the Hall of Fame, do you go try and find their bus? And I mean, is that something that I've never been in the Hall of Fame? You guys have both been there. I'm looking forward to going there. So I'm kind of curious what that's like, especially for somebody that's played with guys that played in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. In 2002, I don't think I had played with anybody at that point who was inducted, but like Curtis Martin, somebody that I played with in New York. I'll be interested to go through. It's a different vantage point. Going through the Hall of Fame as a player is a little bit different. Now going through as a coach, I'm very excited about going in there and just being able to see all of the history and really just take advantage of absorbing it. Exactly right. And I think it'll be great for our players. For all these guys, the absolute pinnacle of what they're trying to accomplish as players, and to be able to see what that looks like and feel what that is like, I think is going to be great for us as a whole.
I've got one more. As a high achiever in life, where do you get inspiration from? How do you keep the fire burning? Besides, you got to be here and coach these guys, and you hear from the head coach, D'Amico, and everything else. But where do you get it from, Coach? What can you share with us?
Well, to be honest with you, when I got done playing, I was done with football. I didn't want anything to do with football. And then one of my best friends happened to be an offensive coordinator, and he asked me to come and coach. And it's been, a pretty good ride ever since 2003 when I first started coaching. But I think the fire really comes from still trying to be a good model of consistency for our players, right? When you're in the college game, it's a little bit more about continuing to develop those young men, 18 to 22, about becoming men. Even though we're dealing with guys that are a little bit older, they're still looking to be coached. And I think they still are looking for role model types for guys that are doing it the right way, day in and day out, regardless of how you feel, regardless of what's going on outside this building. We all have to show up, and we all continue to pull in the same direction. And I think that's the fun part about being a coach, is you still get to model some of those things and have an impact on young men's lives.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot for joining us, Coach.
Thanks, guys.